Fire me up, Brady! Ah! Let's go! This guy's silky.
Well, we had to adjust in there for a second, but welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio. Happy Friday, everybody. It is Tassos Gurkos here, not two Justin Lynches, but I am joined by Justin Lynch in the other room. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up if you are watching this video right now. Tell a friend about our podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It helps us out a lot. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final goes down tonight. The Edmonton Oilers take care of business in Game 1. Leon Draisaitl both opens the scoring and gets it done in overtime. And the Edmonton Oilers, for the first time in 2 Stanley Cup Finals against the Florida Panthers, have a series lead. Justin Lynch, how are you today, brother?
Fantastic. It's Friday then. Let's go, baby. Best day of the week. And it really is the best day of the week because we got Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. That Game 1, you could not ask. You could not script a better Game 1 than that Wednesday night hockey game. How about that Mick Try connection overtime? Absolute cinema between the Oilers and Panthers. And I can't wait for the sequel tonight. It's going to be a blast to the live stream. We will be there.
Yes. Just a reminder, tonight, Justin, Lee, and myself in the exact same chair that I am in right now will be live streaming tonight's Game 2 right here on our YouTube channel under the section Game Live Streams. So be on the lookout for that. Game 1 was very, very fun. And I assume we're going to break it down more and tee up Game 2 a little bit tonight. But there is some other stuff I would rather spend... how do you want to, I don't know, man. This is our show. We're the only 2 people in the studio today. Do you want to do Game 1 first hour? Do you want to do some other stuff? I do kind of want to talk about Pete DeBoer first because it just happened a little bit, and I feel like we're kind of one of the first people on it right now.
Yeah, I say the play should be everything besides Stanley Cup Final talk first hour, then Stanley Cup Final talk second hour. So let's start with DeBoer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Pete DeBoer this morning was announced. He is out as head coach of the Dallas Stars. I'm going to pull up the statement here from Jim Nill and the organization in a second, but the news here is the statement. Dallas Stars general manager Jim Nill announced today that Pete DeBoer has been relieved of his head coaching duties. Effective immediately, the search will begin for the next head coach of the Dallas Stars. Quote, after careful consideration, we believe that a new voice is needed in our locker room to push us closer to our goal of winning the Stanley Cup, Nill said. We'd like to thank Pete for everything he has helped our organization achieve over the past three seasons and wish him nothing but the best moving forward. Okay.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot to sift through here. First of all, it's tricky because, it's a situation in regards to what happened. It's hard to ignore that, and it's hard to just have that with no ramifications, right? I mean, not just pulling Otter after 2 goals, and they're probably going to lose that game anyway, but putting into Smith after 2 was an interesting strategy. I think a message-sending move. It clearly didn't pan out there. It's more the post-game comments after the fact. It almost felt like DeBoer was firing himself in a way. I'm not really sure as a coach how you could say something like that and get away with it. So Stars, I guess, feel like they had to do something about it, and DeBoer has been canned. Not first time we've seen that again. We've seen it with Fleury and the Knights as well. So Great coach for developing players, great coach for getting far in the playoffs. Hasn't quite been able to get over the hump yet in his career, but that's just the thing. It's like, okay, if it's not DeBoer leading this ship, then who's it going to be in Dallas? Because pretty much everybody's locked up now, and I just don't really know where they go from here. And then they got to start that process, and who's next in line is the question. I'm sure DeBoer's going to land on his feet. So, but yeah, we knew something was going to happen this weekend. Probably that's what Elliot Friedman alluded to, but still probably a bit more sudden than we probably expected. I don't know if I was expecting today, this morning. Yeah.
I did kind of expect this. I wonder what percentage of this, and this is a question we'll probably never get the answer to, what percentage of this decision was made by or made because of the Jake Ottinger situation?
I would think quite a bit.
Like, but is the answer, is it 95%? Is it 100%? Like,
yeah, because I don't know if there's enough there in that one instance. Because like he's still done a lot for your club, man. I mean, the Stars have been running well under him. So I know they've had a hard time at the Western Conference Finals, similar to the Brindamore situation in Carolina. But it's like, okay, it's still probably one of the better coaches in the league. I still probably want to fire the guy over just that. So maybe there is more here. He's been there for a few years now and happy to get over the hump. But I wouldn't really say he's been the problem for that regard. So I would think that this Otter situation probably had quite a bit. I don't know the exact percentage, but the fact that happens pretty much right after those post-game comments in that series tells you that has quite a bit to do with it. Yeah.
No, and I agree with
timing,
you. And, Pete DeBoer's got the 9-0 record in Game 7s, which, for not having won the Stanley Cup, is one of the more
impressive.
I mean, also just confusing stats of all time to be 9-0 in Game 7s and not have won the cup ever. Mm-hmm. So he is a great coach. Like, you listen to people talk, he is considered in that tier of coaches that is really good. And honestly, like, look, I know we're as a show and as a podcast, like, fully aboard I'm fully aboard the Jeff Blashill
You almost
train.
wish this happened 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
I was thinking the exact same thing, where it's like, I think DeBoer would be the guy to help us get to that point. Would he be the guy for the long haul? He hasn't really, but for 3 years just to get the Hawks out of the rebuild and contention, he'd probably be the perfect coach for that. So, you kind of wish this happened a little earlier. If he was still in the market, you would think that's a guy that you would interview. Would he want to go to the Hawks, though? I don't know. But, that is a bit of a shame there. I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, I think he's an outstanding coach.
Yeah.
I think everybody loses their temper from time to time. Everybody loses
says things they regret.
Yeah. Everybody loses their composure. Even the most composed people.
Yeah.
Like an NHL coach.
Nobody's perfect.
It's your job to take the pressure off your players, not to put more pressure.
Put it on. That's the thing. And that's where he made a mistake, right? Yeah, I don't think it was just that. I think Steve in the chat, great point. I think the exit interviews probably had a lot to do with it. I think clearly put the team in a bit of an uncomfortable situation with those comments, and obviously they're going to step up for their boys. They're going to step up for Otter. So I think there were a few guys that alluded to it where they weren't really sure about the future of them on the bench there after those comments. So that probably had a lot to do with it as well. Team input as well. Can't really ignore that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched this, I think it was put out by the NHL, but it was a video of Paul Maurice and Pete DeBoer sitting down, and they go way back from their time with the Windsor Spitfires in the Ontario Hockey League together, and they were teammates, and it's so, he's such a good he is a very, very good coach, and I think. What are the other vacancies? Marco Sturm was officially brought on in Boston now.
Brought in Boston. Obviously, the Pens guy, Dan Muse, was hired Wednesday. So it's like, what's even left? I actually couldn't even. Are they all? Is everything filled now? It feels like we're close. If there's, I don't really know what the play is next for DeBoer. Maybe I don't know, 1 year sabbatical. Maybe next year something else opens up, or maybe there'll be some last minute moves off season. For the Blackhawks, there's no way it would happen, but just a funny little thought exercise. Is it possible to fire somebody before he's even coached? I mean, we did see it with the Blue Jackets and Babcock a few years back, but they had a reason. That's not going to happen. I'm just joking. I'm just being funny here. I'm just doing a bit that would never happen, but it'd be kind of nice if you could just be like, so Blashill, your 2-week tenure was fun there. We're going to be bringing DeBoer instead. That's never going to happen, but it's a funny thought experiment.
I guess that was the final. Also, that was the final NHL coaching vacancy. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That makes the Stars have one. So where do they go? Who's first on their list? I don't know if we have any thoughts there yet and where the Stars go. But I guess that's kind of the question mark now. If it's not DeBoer, is it somebody within the organization or?
I would love for them to do what they did when they brought on Jim Montgomery the first time.
Yeah.
I understand that didn't work out the way they wanted it to necessarily, but by that I mean fresh face. We're a fresh face coaches podcast for sure.
Yeah, we don't like that old coaching carousel, right? We like fresh blood.
But man, I just feel like if you go out there and you bring in Torts, or you bring in Peter Laviolette, or you bring in like, I don't know, man. Like
Torts in Dallas. That'd be kind of fun, actually. I don't know about that one.
That might be kind of fun.
I like to see it. I would like to see that. I think you want to see Torts in NHL role just because you always get those one-liners, right? They're always fun to cover, especially for the media people. So I think Torts in the NHL makes it more fun.
Maybe Buffalo fires Lindy Ruff and then he goes back to Dallas after Buffalo again.
Oh, there you go. I could see that. That could be a possibility there. Yeah.
I don't know. A lot would have to happen for that one, but.
Yeah.
I would love to see like go hire Gardner McDougall, go hire our mustache man, you know,
Junior's legend.
Yeah, like there's so many other guys though. Like go hire somebody fresh and new and you know, Pascal Vincent maybe.
You're a big Pascal Vincent guy.
Yeah.
You're hoping he would have the Hawks gig, yeah.
Yeah, I do wish he got the Hawks gig, but that's okay. So okay, the Peter. I don't know where the Stars are going to go from here. As a team, do you feel like what do you do here as a team?
Well, I feel like they have the team. You know what I mean? I think the Oilers are just better. So I don't really feel like there's a lot of changes they have to make to the organizational structure, the players. I feel like they got a squad here. Just getting over this final hump has been a challenge to them. I don't really know if that's a DeBoer problem. You know, it's like I think this is more of a maybe a scapegoat situation type of deal where it's like, yes, he made the wrong comments there, but I wouldn't say DeBoer is the issue. So we'll see here if a fresh face can make a difference there, help them get over the hump. You got to change something. But I feel like they have the depth. They have the goaltending. There's not really a weakness of this team. So I don't know if there's much they have to change there, to be honest with you.
Can I bring up can I ask you a trio of Stars questions I have?
Sure.
Okay. First Stars question. Is Jamie Benn going to be back with the Dallas Stars next season? What do you think?
It's just hard to imagine Jamie Benn elsewhere. He's been a Star his whole life. He's been loyal. Didn't really see much of it in those playoffs. You could tell the age is starting to get to him there, but still got to see. So, I'll say yes. Yeah.
Okay. I've heard some things that
You'll
maybe
think so?
No. I've heard some things that maybe he'd be open to trying something else.
Really?
Maybe they don't. You know. Yeah.
I
I've
don't
heard some
know.
things.
Yeah.
Some teams may inquire about Jamie Benn if he were unsigned on July 1st.
It's possible. He wasn't really that noticeable in the playoffs. So, but just he's been there his whole career. So, good leader for that team. So, you never know. Yeah.
2. I was listening to Real Kipper and Born, and Nick Kiprios brought up the idea of Mitch Marner going to the Dallas Stars.
Where the hell would they find the money for that?
So I'll look up the cap space situation for the Dallas Stars right now, but I think the idea that was brought up would be
they wouldn't be bringing out Jamie Benn then.
Giving him the exact same contract as Mikko Rantanen. The 8x12.
Okay. Would that be enough? Would they have to make more wiggle room there? Yeah.
I'm figuring it out right now.
Yeah, because that just sounds like a pipe dream scenario. But for Mitch Marner though, that would be kind of the perfect destination. A team that's a contender, maybe a move away from the cup, and there's really no pressure in Dallas in terms of a market. So that'd be pretty nice for him. I just don't know how the Stars would make that work. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they have a ton of... It says here projected cap space for 25-26 is $5 million. So...
Yeah, so they have to find $7 million somewhere. So you probably find some of that with not resigning Ben, but you have to make some sacrifices there. You have to make some sacrifices. Rantanen and Marner in the same team. Interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a pipe dream, but you never
think
know.
So?
Yeah, I think so. If they could find a way to make it work, I think that would definitely be an attractive destination for Marner. I just don't know how they're going to be able to make that work. Yeah,
it could be interesting. They struggled to score when it got down to it in the conference final. Like they couldn't really bury a lot of goals 5-on-5 against Edmonton. So
they could use another stud there. Like they have depth, but maybe like a little more top end. Like that's kind of exactly that type of guy. Kind of exactly what they're missing. But
I think they're going to want to bring back Matt Duchene if the number's right.
You would think he was their leading scorer last year, which you probably wouldn't, guess that, but no, he's been great for them. A little quieter in the playoffs, but you think that's a guy you want to be able to bring back. But would you be able to if you bring in a guy like Marner? I know the cap's going up, but that'd still be tricky. Yeah.
Ben, Duchene, Dadonov, Granlund and Colin Blackwell, Blackhawks legend, are all UFAs for the Stars. Third Stars question I had, and then we can move away from this, but the downfall of Peter DeBoer was definitely something that needed to be talked about today. The back end. Miro Heiskanen stud, Thomas Harley stud, I don't know, dude. Cody Ceci really struggled. Petrovic really struggled when, he wasn't even really put out there a lot. Bischel really struggled at times. Lindell wasn't maybe the fleetest of foot that we've seen him over the years.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, dude. Is Marner really, his offense? I think they have enough offense on this squad. That's kind of my other thought I had in my head. It's like, okay, got Otter and Ed. He's been good. He's been clutch for the most part. They have three lines of their top six is a top nine. It's really the D. It's you got Harley and Haskin, and Lindell was decent third D guy. But after that, there's a big drop off. It feels like they could use another top four defenseman or something. That really seems to be where they're the one weakness of that squad. If you could say there's a weakness, it's maybe that bottom three D after the top three. So that'd probably be where I'd be focusing my attention. Yeah. If a guy like Ekblad's available, if the Panthers aren't able to bring him back, if they decide to give Bennett the back, because they probably got the pick between those two. That a guy like that I think could be perfect for Dallas. So I only know if they're going to be if Mitch Marner's really what they're missing from that regard. If that makes sense. Maybe I contradicted myself a little bit, but yes, he'd be helpful. But I think it's the D that they should be focusing on. I think they have more than enough weapons on offense. The depth there is crazy. Yeah.
I think Jason Robertson taking
Need
another
more from him.
step.
Need more from him. I mean, he had that 100-point season. Then the last couple of years, he's been, I think, 80 points both years, which is decent. But a guy like that should be well over a point per game. He's and he hasn't really shown up in the playoffs the way you'd expect either. So I know he was hurt for a little bit there, but they need more from J-Rob. He needs to step. Yeah, I agree. He needs to step up. Yeah.
Even Wyatt Johnston too got a big what was it, like 8.5? Isn't it?
I was
8.5
more impressed
million?
with him last year. I was gonna say, yeah, but he's young, so he could easily bounce back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that will be a lot of the keys to unlocking success for whatever coach steps behind the bench here in Dallas coming up next season.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some big Chicago news.
Oh, yeah, we got some big things to get into here, which, by the way, I am thrilled about this. Well, you could tee it up, and then I'll commentate.
So, I was going to say there's actually two things. Do you want to do the baseball thing first? Did you want to do the
thing?
Well, the White Sox being sold to
Oh,
HBF?
sure, yeah. Actually, finally good news for me, a White Sox fan. Yeah, yeah, we can get to that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's just congratulations. Congratulations. Jerry Reinsdorf is selling the team. I know it's going to...
Yeah, it's a ways away. What is it, 2033, 34. So, but there's a light at the tunnel. At least maybe a decade from now, my White Sox can be contending again. Yeah, there you go. So finally some good news at White Sox. We've been waiting for that. Yeah.
I think it's really cool that this is, first of all, just the Friday show. Great week for Chicago sports, I will say overall.
Yeah.
Even if not for it's off the field stuff or off the ice or off the court. Whatever
arena
you want to say.
talk.
Yeah, a lot of between the Fire stuff, the Blackhawks expansion stuff, the practice facility stuff. The
White Sox,
the White Sox, all of this stuff, the CHSN stuff that we're going to get to.
Oh yeah, this is good news as well.
This is it's all really seemingly coming together. The Hawks got the draft coming up here soon. That's going to be really exciting. I don't know, man. This is a good.
There's a lot of things happening in Chicago sports.
Yes,
yeah.
And it's really good.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the White Sox. I know that was a big thing.
Yeah, we're only 20-40, right? Yeah, we're making progress here. Yeah.
Okay, two things. One, at least you're not the Colorado Rockies this year.
True. They might be worse than last year's White Sox, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. And look, I've even heard some stuff that I think everybody's heard it that maybe the White Sox moved to Nashville and stuff like that. And I think now that Ishbia is coming in, that's going to get put to rest. So that's cool. Yeah. Chicago is definitely a 2 baseball team city.
Hell yeah. As a resident White Sox fan, it's good to hear. Are you more of a Cubs guy or a Sox guy?
I am more of a Cubs guy. I mean,
we are at Wrigleyville, so
I've lived near it now too for a while, and going to Wrigley, I went to the hockey games there. It's the friendly confines, man.
Oh, Wrigley Field's great, man. The Winter Classic there was cinema. I mean, there's been 2 Winter Classics there now. Tells you how good that field is. They never feel the need to go to G-rate field. I don't think they'll ever be seeing a hockey game there, but no, it's a great ballpark and a great franchise. I share the Cubs a lot, but no, it's a great franchise.
You have to be dead inside to go to Wrigley Field and not feel something.
Yeah,
You know?
no, yeah, for sure. It's historic. The ivy, the rooftops, all that. There's a lot to love about it. And then the area that what they've done outside the ballpark too. It's kind of what the Hawks are going for. This 1901 project. It should have a similar vibe. So, no, a lot going on over there. It's a fun place to hang out for sure. Thomas in the chat, Jays greater than Sox. Yeah, you're a Jays guy, right? Yeah.
I am a Jays guy.
Yeah, big Toronto guy. Yeah.
But it always feels like the Jays. So I've always I've been to a good handful of White Sox games just because like the Jays always seemingly play the White Sox more than the Cubs.
All the time. Yeah.
So, yeah, man. I don't know. But anyways, so great week for Chicago sports. And coupled with that, and the reason why that applies to Chicago Hockey Radio is because, and it stinks that Lee isn't here for this. CHSN is now available on Comcast Xfinity.
Finally.
I could read this whole quote here from Danny Wirtz. It is Danny Wirtz's statement on CHSN's agreement with Comcast. All right, ready?
That's right.
Today's announcement that Chicago Sports Network will now be available on Comcast marks the realization of the original vision for our games reaching to the widest audience possible. Blackhawks fans have been incredibly patient over the past year as CHSN has worked to create widespread availability of our games, and I couldn't be more excited for what this means for them. This agreement puts us back in the homes of many Chicagoans who have been missing our coverage, ensuring sports fans across the city are able to enjoy exciting Blackhawks hockey, as well as all the programming we have planned for our centennial celebration next season. Okay. Let's go.
No, this is good news, man. I mean, I think all season last year on Twitter, even my DMs and mentions, the amount of people be like, "How do I watch the games? How do I watch the games?" The amount of fans obviously, had issues being able to access Blackhawks games this past season. That should be much less of an issue, at least for Chicagoland people next year. So that's great news. Job's not finished, but this is big, right? Xfinity Comcast, this is huge. It's what we've been waiting for. So should be helpful next year. Should help the ratings and just to make the games more accessible. It sucks it took a full season to get this figured out, but better late than never. So, well done to Wirtz and on the team there and getting that done. So, definitely good news. I'm glad I won't get any more question marks in my mentions. How do I watch the Blackhawks game? Like I'm like the god of Blackhawks and have all the answers to all that. So I'm glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It is nice. I feel, to be honest, look, as a 26-year-old guy, I'm probably gonna look, okay, so Lee had a CHSN membership that we all kind of have used this year.
Yeah.
It's not really that deep for somebody our age. You know what I mean? To
figure it out. It really is. It's more for like the older crowd.
Like our parents' generation, that sort of age demographic where, figuring out a streaming service and like logging on every time or, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to figure out, or especially like, if we're considering like, an elder group, people,
It's tricky.
Above 60 or 70, like this season was they probably didn't watch the Chicago,
sucks.
which, for somebody who's probably been watching the Hawks for 50 years of their life, that is very difficult. So, it is good that they've figured this out, but like I said, it doesn't really affect us, but it does kind of a little bit.
But it affects a lot of, the Chicago market, right? So should help business next year, which again, 100th season of Blackhawks hockey, centennial season, you want as much eyeballs watching that as possible. So, it's a good thing they figured this out now. Yeah. For sure. Good news for all of us. I do wish Lee was here because I know he's been ranting about CHSN all season. So, but yeah, I'm sure he's actually happy he's not here because he probably didn't want to give too much credit over there, which fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk more about that too. I did get confirmation that Greg Boysen will be returning to the show next week. So I won't tell the world what particular day, but Greg will be appearing on the show one day next week. So,
oh, hell yeah. Always love talking with Greg Boysen.
And also we've just been like, collecting
the guest game.
Yeah.
I mean, Barstool Chief. We have Charlie Meliodas, obviously, Wednesday. That was a great interview. And Greg Boyce, I believe that'll be the third time he's been on. So,
yes.
No, can't wait. We should have plenty to discuss.
I think we might have to get Greg like a T-shirt.
At this point, yeah, because is he the only, he's definitely been the most recurring guest so far.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like our honorary fourth member, if you will. So,
I think, we definitely need to
at least get him a
CHR
hat or something.
Yeah.
I still got to send a CHR hat to Charlie. I know he seemed like he really
so
wanted
funny.
one.
Yeah.
So I'll see if we can get one made for him and sent to his mailbox. Haven't done that yet, Charlie, if you're listening, but we'll get on that this weekend. Yeah.
So some other Hawks talk.
Oh, a lot to get into here, actually. A lot to get into.
Yeah. So the draft combine is going on right now. Speaking of guests, we will be getting Stephen Ellis back
good.
on one more time before
prospect guru.
Yes.
For prospect talk. I know the chat's always winking for their prospect talk, and we'll have a whole month of prospect talk, chat. So don't you worry about that. And we should have plenty on the show today too. Yeah.
And it sort of feels like with the draft that the Islanders are going to have a big decision to make on their hands.
Yes.
Whether it's Schaefer, whether it's Misa, whether it's Higgins, whether you trade down or, what like they hold a big decision. But then, unless they go with Schaefer, San Jose's mind is kind of made up.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I mean, the Sharks badly want, and that's the thing. I don't think the Hawks are going to be the only team attempting to trade up. I think the Sharks are really going to want to trade up to 1, too, because you would think that Schaefer's probably more likely to go at 1. So, and they really need a defenseman. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of activity there. The Islanders are going to be getting a lot of phone calls. If there's any year the first overall pick gets traded, surely like this is I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the possibility is definitely out there. There's been a lot of smoke around that because I know they really like James Higgins, but would you take James Higgins at 1 over Misa and Schaefer? Probably not, right? They probably don't take James Higgins alone. You probably trade down to take Higgins. Maybe they do take him at 1. My mock draft, my delusional mock draft, I do have them taking him at 1, and then Misa falling to 3. It's very unlikely that happens, but a man can dream. I think if the Hawks really want Misa, they got to trade up to get him. But you never know. I do think there does seem to be a lot of Higgins Isles smoke. Maybe it's all a smoke screen. Maybe it's all a plot. But I don't know. I do think there's something to watch there for sure. Yeah.
So all of that is to be figured out before we even get to number 2. And then, like I said, after, depending on what the Islanders will do, obviously San Jose has their eyes on Matthew Schaefer. However they can get him. Maybe there's a situation where San Jose trades up to the 1 spot, right, from 2. And, just so they're able to ensure that they get their guy. And
then what happens, right? So the Sharks would take Schaefer at 1, obviously. Then do the Islanders take Higgins at 2 over Misa? Do they do that?
Yeah,
that would be
maybe.
kind of, what if they don't, though? That would be a nightmare situation if they didn't. If they took Misa and then, because then both those teams would get what they want there and we don't. So especially the Sharks. Like the silver lining with the Islanders having the first pick is theoretically the Sharks won't get Schaefer. So it's like, but then you don't want them taking Misa, obviously. So it's a tough balance to strike there, right? Because you really don't want, the Sharks getting Schaefer and us not getting Misa would be kind of a disaster. So yeah, I don't know.
But that is why we need somebody like Stephen Ellis on the show. So that way, if that were to happen, then, you have all of these guys like Frundell and Martone and Higgins and Desnoyers and all of these different guys to sort through, right? And parse through and figure out who is actually going to be the guy that you want to take it, a crucial number 3 pick that, could dictate the rest of your franchise. So all that to say, the draft combine is going out and these kids are working out. Hawks not taking prospects to dinner, apparently, according to your note.
Yeah, that's very curious because I saw like a tweet from somebody who said like Misa, he had dinners with the Islanders, the Sharks, the Mammoth, and the Preds, and everybody's like, why not the Hawks? But then Davidson clarified because he was questioned by Powers Pope the other day in Buffalo. Everybody's over there in Buffalo, and he said no, they're just not taking any prospects at dinner, which is interesting because I feel like every other year the Hawks have always been doing that. So why this year that's different is beyond me. Cal Davidson loves to be different, man, but they have been interviewing with guys, have been meeting with guys. I think I saw that they've already interviewed 60 people this week. So but I just felt like it was a little redundant. There's nowhere to hide with those dinners. And it seems like the Hawks just really don't want people to know what they're doing at 3. And maybe you could kind of give teams hints in terms of like who you're meeting at these dinners and restaurants and stuff. So, Hawks aren't doing that this year. Maybe they already just know what they want. Maybe they're already so dead set at 3 where it's like they don't feel the need to be doing these dinners. So, or maybe David's just more of a breakfast, brunch, lunch guy. Maybe he's just not a dinner guy. I don't know. I'm just joking about that one. But that's very curious. It's just I don't recall seeing that before. So I'm in regards to what that means for 3. Who knows? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Hawks still working on internal draft rankings, but appears the decision at 3 is going to come down between Higgins, Martone versus Frundell, Desnoyers, assuming Misa isn't available. Yeah, kind of what
Charlie was teeing up there Wednesday. Martone, Higgins, obviously the sexy picks, but the Hawks do seem to really like Frundell's game. And another thing that I thought really curious, I think Davidson did provide a little bit of a hint here in regards to the number 3 spot. In that article, the Ben Pope, Chicago Sun-Times article that came out yesterday, he said the Hawks do view Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar as long-term centers down the road. So maybe that could be a bit of a hint there in regards to where the Hawks are looking at number 3. Because I've been seeing a lot of Hawks people saying, oh, they're not crazy about the center depth, yada, yada. But it's like, okay, well, if you already have your 2 top 6 centers figured out, are you really taking a second-line center like a Denoye at 3? I don't think so. I mean, you could always move a guy like that to the wing, but I don't think that guy's game is a wing. So I guess if they took Frundell, they could move him to the wing or vice versa. But that tells me that, I don't know, I think they could be looking at a guy like a Martone. I've been seeing a lot of smoke where the Hawks aren't really that into a guy like that because of his skating. It doesn't really fit the Kyle Davidson mold. But the fact that Davidson's saying no, he feels pretty confident that they're going to keep Bedsy Nazar at center, it does tell me the Hawks would be cool with taking a winger at 3, a guy like a Martone, for example, or maybe I know Hagen's a center, but he's played wing too. So very curious to see. And just because he's saying that, they could always move those guys to the wing anyway. Just because you can't know what you have to take Davidson. You can't really take him fully at his word because a lot of the things that Davidson says he doesn't actually end up doing. Like he did say in the article, oh yeah, we're going to be taking the best player available with the 3rd overall pick. Last year, he said they'd be taking the best player available at 2, and they didn't take the best player available. So, I mean, Davidson does, he tends to do differently in regards to what he says. So there's only so much you could take away. And he didn't really give us too much to work with in this article. It's a lot of speculation, things like that. But he does draw some hints in there. It's an interesting read for sure. I recommend checking it out. A few more notes in here. We did kind of talk about this already, but it does, from that article, it does appear a draft day trade is a possibility. Davidson appears more interested in trading up versus trading down. Like I've been seeing a lot of talk around that with the Hawks trade down from 3. Based on what I read in that article, that doesn't really seem like it'd be on the table. I think Davidson would be willing to be aggressive in the draft as he has been in the past, right? Maybe make a trade up from 3 or even 25 to get like a second top 10 pick. That's just me speculating, but I think the Hawks will be. There's going to be a lot to look for on draft day. I think there's going to be a big day, and it wouldn't surprise if there's a few moves and something we don't expect. Definitely something to navigate and look for. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually looking for. Oh, Raven didn't make a Friday mailbag for this week. That's okay.
Oh, it's okay. I can get through a few more. There's actually a few more things I want to say.
I'm looking for some questions
about
right now,
this article. That was all draft stuff, but another thing is free agency. Kyle was asked about that. This has been the curious thing because if you read a lot of what Blackhawks insiders like Scott Powers and Ben Pope are saying, they're kind of all suggesting Charlie Meliodas. Like they're kind of all suggesting that the Hawks aren't going to be super active in free agency, at least for like a big fish like a Mitch Marner. But then you look at what all the NHL media insiders like the Chris Johnsons and guys like that, they're all saying that they will be. So who's going to be right there? Who knows? I would imagine the Hawks insiders have a little more, information there to work with. So yeah, that's going to be something that's interesting to navigate as well. We'll see about that. And also a Ryan Donato update. Davidson they've been talking for Ryan Donato. They're hoping to reach an extension there. They've been working on it, but nothing done yet. Don't think that's really great news. If it hasn't been done now, is it really going to get done by July 1st? I don't know. It definitely seems, unfortunately, more likely that Donato is not re-signed, but we shall see about that. There's still time to figure that out. But I do think that's going to play some sort of part in terms of what the Hawks do in free agency, right? If you're not able to bring back Donato, you got to replace that production. So maybe you go after a guy like a Ehlers or somebody like that. But maybe not a Mitch. Maybe that big fish is a year or two down the line when you kind of figure out what you have with these prospects. Kind of what Meliodas was saying Wednesday. It kind of feels like that's kind of the mindset that Davidson's leaning towards right now. Maybe this isn't the summer to be aggressive. So just because he's saying that, we'll see if that's actually true. I do think that'd be a little disappointing. Like I would like to see us do something here. Can get Bedsy a little more to work with. I know we got a hot prospect pool here, but you don't know if all these guys are going to fill out. I think now, with all this cap space we have, I think now's the time to start being a little more aggressive and less passive. But that's just me. Yeah, I know you don't want to rush the rebuild. I know you don't want to rush the process.
I want to rush the rebuild.
Maybe not now, but
rush it. Yeah. Rush it. Bring in Ekblad. Bring in Marner. Bring in Bennett. Bring them all in.
I don't know. There's a fine line to strike there, but I don't think you could do nothing though. It's like, okay, you don't want to bring in Marner, fine. You got to do something. You can't do nothing, man, because you can't just have a prospect lineup next year. So I do hope if there isn't Marner, there is like a second, option there, but we'll see.
Let's go for the Stanley Cup next year, baby.
I do away from that, brother.
I do think Ryan Donato is likely as good as gone now.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know what Kyle Davidson was necessarily thinking here. I do wonder back on trade deadline day what the highest offer was for Ryan Donato. Even if remember in the press conference afterward on draft day, he was like, we weren't looking really as much for a pick as we were looking for a prospect maybe or a young NHLer.
Yeah.
For Ryan Donato, that maybe there was an equivalent to a second or first round pick in value there, late first round pick. I mean, but I just I wonder what the trades were out there that he maybe was looking for a little bit more on for Ryan Donato, or looking for a little bit more out of, because if you're going to let him walk for nothing,
that's a failure. That's that's a mismanaged
asset.
That's an asset. Exactly. Right. That's a 30 goal scorer, 30 assists, 60-point guy. And yeah, it was the one season he's done that in his career, and he could drop off, but you still got a solid, middle six guy there. So that would be a failure. And if you don't resign a guy like that, you better make up for it somewhere. But it wouldn't be the first time you let a guy like that walk. Dylan Strome a few years back was a similar situation. Couldn't get a return from that. He wanted the trade deadline and then lost him for nothing. And then look what Dylan Strome wound up being, first line center for the Capitals. So not the same situation. I know that Donato was a few years older at this point, not the same type of player, but yeah, that would be a mistake for sure. Because we were saying at the trade deadline, it's like, look, this could happen. You might just be keeping this guy for the rest of the year and then lose him. It's a very real possibility, right? It's almost like he played too well in terms of his value, where GMs looked at that, didn't want to give up what Davidson was asking, whether that was a first-round pick, a second-round pick, who knows. But I said it before, there are much worse players who got those types of returns for the trade deadline. So whose fault is that if he wasn't able to get that value? That's kind of on KD. So yeah, hopefully they're able to figure that out, but it's not really looking too great right now. Yeah.
No, it is not.
No.
Okay. What do you want to get to? We do have one Friday question. Would you like me to read it?
What's the Friday question?
It does kind of actually pertain to some of the conversation we were having earlier about the Dallas Stars. What might a Hawks trade package look like if they tried to get Jason Robertson out of Dallas? Lots of questions about where that team is headed this offseason. J-Rob is an RFA in 26-27 with a 7.75 AAV. It's not a center, but I like the fit.
I mean, yeah, what would a trade package look like? That's an interesting question. Well, what would the Stars be looking for, right? They'd probably be looking for, on that defensive front, you probably have to give up a guy like a Korchinski, like, on the D-core, some sort of hot prospect with value. The 25, that second first we have would have to be in there, probably another top pick would have to be in there either next year, this year, whatever. And then probably another B-tier type of prospect. I'm not sure, like another defenseman on that front, or even a forward prospect. You probably need to get up like an Alvar Moore or somebody like that, or maybe like a Reichel could be. I don't know if Reichel's really gonna do anything for them, but you know what I mean. Somebody like that. I don't even know if that would be enough. Like, because J-Rob, this is a guy, like you said, he's entering the prime of his career, 80 point guy, point per game guy. The past couple of years, even 100+ point guy, not that long ago. So I'm not really sure if J-Rob's the first guy like I'd look at, but that could be a fit there for sure. Very skilled guy, could be perfect for a guy like Bedsy. So that might be worth looking into for sure. But I'm not really sure if the Hawks would be the first destination there. But that's an interesting question. Yeah, for sure.
I do wonder, especially in the Central, because I feel like I don't know, Central Division teams don't like trading with each other.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I feel like that's why the Hawks wouldn't be tops on the list there. If they do decide to ship out Robertson, why would you trade him for a emerging,
oh my
rival?
God. Could you imagine sending Oliver Moore out the door and then he just spends the next decade burning you?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Well, yeah, for the Hawks too, right? So I just don't think that they would be looking. Yeah, they'd probably be looking elsewhere, probably trade with an Eastern Conference team or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think of how upset Joe Sakic is and Chris McFarland that you think you ship Mikko Rantanen off to the Carolina Hurricanes. Mm-hmm. You think that
he's gone. You don't have to deal with him anymore. And then they trade him to probably one of your top rivals in the division. And then he eliminates you from the playoffs. And you're going to have to deal with him for probably the rest of his career at this rate. So Abs might not be winning another cup as long as if they go through that team, which the Stars have owned them recent memory. Now they got Rantanen. So, yeah, I don't really think you want to make that same mistake if you're the Blackhawks or even the Stars, for that matter, right? So, where you have to deal with Robertson in the future, then he's, players take things personally, man. If he meets them up in the playoffs, I don't think that'd go well for him. So, it's a nice idea, worth pursuing. I don't know exactly what the package. I'd have to spend more time thinking about what it. I'm not really great with I'm not really a great mock trade guy. I'll admit, maybe franchise mode I am, but yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming in here.
There's a few in the DMs I saw. Yeah.
That I'm sorting through now.
Yeah.
So okay, sorry, I'm trying to rephrase this as I read it.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be if Davidson does not a lot in free agency or doesn't land a draft pick that is going to step in and make an immediate impact, more of a project, should he be fired or does he deserve one more year? So I kind of asked Charlie this a little bit. I tried to. I realized going back in the interview, I tried to ask Charlie about. I was trying to ask him about like trades for young players.
Yeah,
and he didn't really say one thing or the other. And my question was more of like, is there any pressure to sort of get a little bit better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there is a very good chance that there are players that are just going to want to sign elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many teams are going after Mitch Marner this summer? 25.
It sounds like they're. Yeah, I mean, it seems like every team it seems like every team is going
I saw
after
an
Mitch
article.
Marner at this rate.
I saw an article, Justin.
Yeah.
That was ranking the 32 destinations for Mitch Marner.
Even the teams that, like, I don't know how they don't have the cap. They're probably looking at him too. So like we just said earlier, a team like the Stars. So yeah, that's the point. I think if you're hinging your entire offseason success on Mitch Marner, you're going to be disappointed.
But it's not just him. I'm talking about like,
I know. Yeah.
I know you guys have scoffed at this, but I think John Tavares would be an excellent addition to the Hawks to sort of bridge the gap between, where you are now and where you want to be later on. I think John Tavares. But is he going to want to come to Chicago? Is Nikolai Ehlers going to really want to come to Chicago? Mm-hmm. Is, Brock Besser going to really want to come to Chicago? That's the thing, right? So there is
that tier 2 guy if it's not him. Yeah.
Yes. But you don't want to overpay. You don't want to pay Ryan Donato $5.5 million for the next 5 years and, overpay for a guy in that range of player.
Well, I think you're probably going to have to overpay for Ryan Donato at this rate. It's either that or lose him for nothing. So it's like, would you rather overpay him, or it depends what the term looks like.
I would personally rather have the young kids fill the spots, take the ice time.
I don't want to see the Hawks do what they did, which I don't think they're going to do this, by the way. If they do bring in guys, it's going to be like a couple guys. They're not going to do what they did last year. Like Davidson said, like he said it in the article, like that roster you saw in March, April, it's going to be very similar to that, and maybe a couple additions here or there to fill in some slots to help move this thing along a little bit. So
that's what I'm saying. So if you're not getting a real needle mover,
which I don't think they probably will be, unfortunately, this year. Yeah,
maybe they could. Maybe they're like, I would say it's a non-zero chance that Mitch Marner ends up here.
It's definitely possible. You said the Hawks aren't going to be getting a needle mover, which is true. I think what Davidson hinging on is that this young Hawks group will be the needle movers next year, right? A breakout season for guys like Nazar and Renzel Lebsnov's first full years and Bedsy having a better year. Like I think a lot of our hopes next year. I think that's kind of the idea from Davidson. It's like he kind of wants this young group to kind of figure it out, on their own. Like we're gonna go as far as this group takes us here, this core. So and then when this core gets us to that spot, that's when we can think about bringing in, once we're around that playoff spot and thinking about, because we're not thinking about playoffs yet. Once we start getting to that point, then you can really start thinking about, okay, we're a playoff team now. How do we become a cup team? You know what I mean? Yeah. Yep. I think that's kind of the idea. I understand the logic. It does suck though, because it's going to require a lot more patience. I know people hate hearing that word, but I think, we're going to have to be a little more patient here.
So what I think that means is that Davidson's fine.
Yeah, I get that sense. I haven't heard a single thing from, like, when we interviewed Pope as well and Romeliotis, like, it seems like Davidson has a decently long leash here, where it's like, I think he'll go Davidson's hedged his bets on his draft picks. Davidson will go as far as his draft picks will take him, right?
I think, but even still, they could be firmly in the race for Gavin McKinnon next year. Like, we're talking fighting for the bottom 3.
It's true, but at the same time,
I think Davidson will come out the other side.
I do think they need to be like, yes. I do think they need to be a little better. Like, if you're telling me they have another 50, 60-point year, like, I do think there needs to be some progression next year, right?
What if there are 0 additions to the roster? Maybe 1 or 2, but we're not talking.
I still think you could see that progression just through this young core. Yes, there's going to be growing pains as a young roster. Again, don't get me wrong. There's going to be growing pains here, and not everybody develops at the same rate. But I just think the way this team looked late season, I would expect there to be at least some improvement next year.
No, I agree. I just think there are a lot of teams that have a lot of like established NHLers too.
It's true. We have some. I mean, the problem is the established NHLers we have aren't needle movers. They're like Teravainens and Bertuzzis. Mm-hmm. Like they fill ice time. They don't really, they're not needle movers. That's what we're lacking right now, is like those veterans who are going to help, bring along this youth core. We don't have that right now, unfortunately. I love Nick Foligno for what he provides off the ice. Nick Foligno is not going to, captain your team to a Stanley Cup, and that's not really his job, right? His job is to pass the torch. That's his job, and then this leadership group, like the Connor Murphys of the world, that's their job.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to hone these guys in to step into those roles, right? That's kind of what we're seeing right now. Yeah. But I think for Davidson, though, it's like you got to see. I think the young guns have to perform. If the development starts to falter, if Blashill isn't doing his job there, then the seat starts becoming hot. I don't think it's there yet, but I do think a lot's going to hinge on how well this hire goes and just the development. I think that's the main theme right now. And if that starts to falter, if some of these prospects like the Korchinskis and the guys like that start to fizzle out, then that could be a bit of an issue. Yeah, which obviously they're not all going to pan out. They never do, but yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, you get what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have to get to? There's some other hirings around the league here that I got. Marco Sturm, we sort of
Officially
mentioned in passing, officially hired as Boston Bruins head coach.
Yeah, I think I may have false said that he was hired like a while back, but he wasn't actually officially hired yet. Now he's been officially hired. So the former Shark, Marco Sturm, former NHLer, I think he played in Boston too, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think it's a pretty good hire there. A bit of a fresh face, should be good for that team and that squad. That definitely needs one there for sure. Again, like I said with Boston before, my opinion hasn't changed. I think, until they really make some more changes to that management group, they're not really going to go as far as they expect here. And that's a similar team like the Penguins. I don't really know where you go from here. Like, I think they're trying to retool this thing, but I just don't know besides Pasta, McAvoy, Swayman, if they really have the pieces. They have a lot of work to do this offseason for sure. But I think Sturm is definitely an upgrade for sure in terms of the coaching. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw a funny joke that was, if the Boston Bruins win the Stanley Cup with Marco Sturm as the head coach, do they finally win the Joe Thornton trade?
That's funny. He was involved in that, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the all-time fleeces, sending Thornton to San Jose. But, I mean, to be fair, the Bruins won a cup during Thornton's tenure, and the Sharks never did win a cup. So, but I don't think I had anything to do with that trade. But that's a funny joke. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a report today that just of the Bruins draft board and what they're targeting, and it's all forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mock draft, I had them taking Keyshawn Aitchison at 7 or 8 or whatever they had.
I wonder where I had.
So, but I do think that they are going to go forward here, because if you look at the forward depth of the Boston Bruins, they need to draft a forward.
I had Denoye because they're really lacking. Their center depth is pretty atrocious. So I know Denoye is he seems like he's going to be more of a second line center, but maybe for them he could turn into a first line center. I don't know. Maybe that could be. I've seen a lot of Patrice Bergeron comparisons. Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh boy, that's the last thing I need is the Bruins getting another Bergeron.
Yeah, so I had the Bruins taking Denoye at 7. So. Yeah, great guy, number 7. Not really a guy I want to take up a third pick, but there does seem to be some smoke around that. We'll see. That just feels like the prototypical Bruin right there, Caleb Denoye. Yeah,
I definitely here. I just want to read out the Bruins. This is the Bruins forward core.
After Pasta, it's kind of embarrassing.
First line: Morgan Geekie, Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak. Second line: Marat Kuznetsov, Elias Lindholm, Fabian Lysell. Third line, Georgi Merkulov, Casey Middlestat, Matthew Patois. Fourth line, Jacob Blauko, John Beecher, Mark Kastelik.
Woof. I totally forgot they even added Casey Middlestat. I'm not going to lie. That's how forgettable that forward core is right now. Elias Lindholm, that's been an issue because they thought he was going to be their second line center, and that's not
he was great at the World.
Well, actually, he was supposed to be their first line center. He's been bumped by, he was great at the Worlds. He wasn't so great at the NHL this year, but Pavel Zacha's upped him on the depth chart there. To be fair, Pasta's made Morgan Geekie look like the next Patrick Kane. Like, whoever you play with Pasta is going to perform well. So you have your first line covered. But after that, yikes. There is nothing there after that, after Pasta, the first line. They have a lot of work to do. They have
no prospects. They have no.
That's the thing.
Nothing.
That's the thing. So it's like, what do you do here? I think you got to start building up your prospect pool. I think that if the Bruins are smart, you start entering a bit of a rebuild here. But the Bruins aren't really an organization that does that. They're always a retool organization, similar to the Rangers, right? They're always retooling. So, but how do you do that with this squad? I love Pasta, but he's not alone going to be able to drag you to the offs. I think a better season from Swayman. I think he was much better than he showed this past year. And Lindholm bounced back, and hopefully McAvoy staying healthy, and those factors will help. But you can't just expect Pasta to drag you to the offs. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of assistant coach bits, and then I want to talk about something else that's not related to the NHL, and then we will send it on the way to the Mount Rushmore before we hit a break and come back with Stanley Cup final talk, because yes, that is going on.
Really?
Yeah, it is. David Quinn and Joe Sacco hired as New York Rangers assistant coaches. David Quinn is back with the New York Rangers. Was head coach of the Rangers from 2018 to 2021. He is the first former Rangers head coach to return to the team as an assistant.
This, Tassos, can you explain this to me like a 5-year-old? Like, this makes no sense.
Can you
whatsoever.
explain it to me like I'm
Why
5?
the hell would you bring David Quinn back as an assistant coach? What
Nope.
What are they doing? Would that be awkward at all? And he wasn't exactly great there, so maybe an assistant role would be better. I don't know. I do like the Sacco hire. I think that works. I'm sure the Bruins, tough to lose him. I mean, they probably would have liked him as an assistant after the interim role. But David Quinn, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing, New York?
David Quinn went 96, 87, and 25 in 3 seasons as coach.
And he had some good teams to work with, man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
His only full season, he went 32, 36, and 14 in 2018-19. The next 2 seasons were impacted by COVID-19. Quinn was fired in May of 2021 by Chris Drury, who had taken over 1 week prior.
That wasn't that long ago.
No. 8 current members of the Rangers played under Quinn in his 3 seasons. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin, Alexei Lafreniere, Johnny Brodzinski, Adam Fox, Kandre Miller, and Igor Shesterkin.
I don't know about this one. I don't even know how to explain this hire. I don't even know if you really can explain it. New York, that's another organization where it's like it seems like they're in a bit of an identity crisis right now. Like they're trying to retool this thing, but like I said, I'm not sure about the facilities. Yeah,
They Quinn and Mike Sullivan are really close, and
yeah.
Quinn obviously went to coach the Sharks for 2 seasons, and Quinn was brought on by Mike Sullivan to be on his staff at the Four Nations, and and I will say that I am reading something here. Zibanejad did score a career high 41 goals under David Quinn, which is a player that they really need to get going, and Adam Fox won the Norris under David Quinn, so another player that they really need to get going in New York.
I feel like Lafreniere is
maybe.
kind of struggling. I mean, to be fair, I think in general he's kind of been struggling, but the development's always been an issue there in New York. But yeah, maybe if he could get I think they need to get more out of these veterans, right? If they're going to get back to the playoffs, right? Fox needs to be in that kind of conversation amongst top defensemen, which he wasn't even close last year. And Zibanejad fell off a cliff, so they get more from that group. And Panarin maybe he's been all right. Shesterkin, he's going to be better next year. You feel pretty confident about that. So. Sullivan, great head coach, so maybe he can, help pull them along if they have a good relationship and they work well. So maybe I could sort of see. I guess when you explain it like that, try to get some more out of this group. But I mean, it's David Quinn, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. Interesting.
So this next assistant thing, I'd like to use it to maybe stir the pot a little bit, if that's okay. Tampa Bay Lightning Vice President General Manager Julian Brisebois announced today that the club has hired Dan Heinold as an assistant coach. He's been an associate coach with the Colorado Eagles of the AHL for the last 3 seasons, helped the Eagles to the best record in the AHL's Western Conference this year. They were a wagon. Looks like he's a young, up-and-coming coach. And here's where I want to stir the pot. Stanley Cup champion, 2 with the Colorado Avalanche in
So that's
2001.
Jeff Blashill's replacement.
How about John Cooper's replacement
Ooh.
in Tampa?
Interesting.
How about John Cooper's replacement? So John Cooper, did you see this video? He was at like some Tampa Bay sports
Well, he's going to be there at least for
gathering.
the next couple of years, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't think so? You're not convinced that Cooper's...
I'm just saying.
I mean, it's been
If
like over
they
a
lose-
decade now.
What if they lose in the first round again next year, Justin?
Oh, you know what I'm going to say to that? If Cooper is on the table there, I think Jeff Blashill, you can go... thank you for keeping the seat warm here. I think that's what you do. If Jeff Blashill, if Cooper becomes available,
I just think this hire might be John Cooper insurance. That's all.
Okay, maybe not next. Maybe like a couple years down the line.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I know he's the longest tenured coach in the NHL, but it's like, if you have another, like you said, if you have another early playoff exit, that'll be 4 years in a row. I think eventually something's got to give there. So something to monitor for sure. Yeah. And
Did
then,
you? Oh, I don't know what you're
Well, I was
say.
going to say, you know what the Hawks could do? They could keep next year, you know, if that pans out. Because we were saying for the Hawks, so I wait for a better option to open up, right? Blashill could be assistant, and then he could be assistant under Cooper again, you know, next year. Yeah, maybe I'm being delusional right now. I know I like to be delusional, but I can't help it. You can't help but think about things like that. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Did you guys not mention Nikita Kucherov winning the Ted Lindsay on Wednesday?
No. Oh, did that come out Wednesday?
Did.
We must have missed it. But yes, Kucherov did win the Lindsay. This is I will say very weird what they're doing this year. I don't know if I like it or not. That they're just kind of like naming these awards like as they go here. Like
well, they scrapped the award. You know,
I don't mind the lack of an award ceremony. I just feel like the way they're doing it, it's like they're just kind of dropping one like every other day or so. I mean, it's interesting, but yeah, not too shocked by that. I mean, that's how much Wednesdays is that now for Kucherov? He's already won a couple of those, right?
Yeah. I'll look that up.
Yeah, fact check that. But no, I think can't really argue with that. He's been damn good for that squad. The numbers he's been putting up there. So not really a surprise for sure. Yeah, I would say.
I agree. And for those who didn't see Sean Monahan winning the Bill Masterton Trophy and having that presented by Meredith Goudreau, that's one that you know pulls at the tears a little bit.
Yeah, there's no arguments there. I mean, Monahan, you could argue. I mean, even with injury, you could argue that was the best season of his career. I mean, he had 57 points at 54 games, and obviously went to Columbus to play with Johnny, and you know, tragically never got that opportunity. But you know, I think he played motivated all season. He's really resurrected his career, man. I remember those last couple of years in the Flames, he was dealing with those injuries, and kind of felt like his career is kind of coming to a close there. And he's rebounded since then, and he's a great fit for Columbus this past year. So hopefully, he can help lead them to a playoff spot next year. I think we all want to see that team get back to the playoffs. So definitely has a bright future there in Columbus, and I think he's the right guy to help lead the ship there. So no, but also just what they did there, you know, really nice, well done. So good to see that playing for Johnny. Yeah,
it was Kucherov's second Ted Lindsay
I knew
award.
he won one before. Yeah,
2018-19. He was also a finalist last season with Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar. Kucherov won his second straight Art Ross Trophy this season with 121 points.
Jeez.
And he's also a finalist for the Hart.
144 last year, right? He's just the numbers he's been putting up. Wonder if he'll get that Hart that he lost last year. We'll see. Definitely in the running for that. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, let's. Can I talk about one thing before?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Yeah. You don't have to ask me. You're the boss.
This is not NHL related at all.
Yeah.
Just if anybody's paying attention to the PWHL and the expansion process right now,
some moves there. Yeah.
To say that there's been some moves is kind of an understatement here. So from what I gather, each of the 6 teams in the PWHL were allowed to protect 3 players off their roster.
3?
And I think it was after they had a player selected, then they were able to protect another 1 player. So as you can imagine, some very like national team level players were picked up by the 2 expansion teams.
Sarah Nurse,
Sarah Nurse is going to PWHL Vancouver.
How did that protect Sarah Nurse?
Alongside Claire Thompson, who's awesome if you don't know who she is.
Hillary Knight, too. Didn't I see something around
Hillary Knight is going to Seattle.
Wow.
Emmeryn Smashmeyer is going to be the starting goalie in Vancouver. They also got 2-time PWHL Walter Cup champion Sophie Jakes from Minnesota and Jen Gardner, too, BC native, joining PWHL Vancouver. Sophie Jakes will also be the first player in PWHL history to be under contract with 3 different teams in the league. So, and Seattle's going to be
they're going to be loaded.
Unbelievable too.
How the heck does Hillary Knight and Sarah Nurse? How do they go unprotected?
So listen to this.
What?
Hillary Knight, Seattle got.
Yeah.
Then they got Danielle Serdachny, who was the 2nd overall pick by Ottawa in the draft last year.
Yeah.
2nd overall pick.
Wow,
they got her.
They're going to be good.
And then they got Kayla Barnes, who was the 5th overall pick in the draft last year.
I recognize her from Chell.
Yeah.
They're going to have a loaded squad.
And they got Alex Carpenter, who is...
Alex Carpenter, too?
Yep.
What the heck? They got a bunch of the U.S., even the Canadian World's squads there. By the way, the U.S. Did win. They did beat Canada for the gold medal in the Women's World Championships this year. So what a year for USA Hockey, man. World Juniors, Women's Worlds, and Men's Worlds. We don't need to talk about that, that little Mickey Mouse tournament. But,
look, I understand that these teams don't have individual owners yet. So the emphasis to make all of the teams competitive as quickly as possible is more of it's more of a duty for
Dude,
the
the Seattle team's
PWHL.
gonna be better than the Kraken.
The Seattle team will be better than some of the teams that are in the league now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the New York Sirens are really going to struggle. You know, they've been finishing last the first 2 years, and, you know, now they just lost Alex Carpenter. You know what I mean?
How'd she not get protected? What the
I don't know.
world?
That was the big.
Three All-Stars, 4 All-Stars. They just got it. One. It's like a Vegas Golden Knights expansion. Holy wow.
So I understand what they're trying to do. They need all the teams to be competitive. It's not the NHL where there's a bit of an argument for, you know, struggling through.
There's only 8 teams, right? Go for Seattle.
Now,
there's 8 teams now. The Vancouver's the other one, right? So, come on. I mean, we just expanded Fifth Third Arena, right? I mean, Chicago, right? Like, hopefully whenever the next expansion running is, I think now is the time. I think Chicago should get.
Oh my gosh!
We've been saying it for so much. I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. Yeah.
If these are the rules, then
we're gonna have a good team.
They're gonna win right away.
Yeah, exactly. So come on, let's get on it. Hopefully next year, year after, whenever.
I just wanted to mention it because it is kind of crazy, and also not PWHL, but CHL to NCAA. I am wearing my Michigan State hat today.
McKenna.
Well, Caden Lindstrom, the Blue McKenna's teammate at Medicine Hat. Committed to Michigan State officially yesterday.
Oh, I thought he already did that. Okay, that's cool.
No, it was official. It was official yesterday.
I struggle with the official talk on this show.
No, I do too. You never know, especially nowadays with like, this report and that report. And Gavin McKenna will be meeting soon with
Thomas
Michigan
is
State.
Be. Thomas, what do you think about that, buddy? Could be losing 2 of your best players there.
Oh, they're losing more than that. They're losing more than that. They'll be losing like their captain, Oasis Weisblatt.
Oh, my Minnesota Hat's going to be struggling next year. They're going to be in the running forever the top CHL prospect.
I don't know if guys like Tanner Molendijk and Ryder Ritchie are, you know, long for Medicine Hat either. So it was a good run.
So
I really wish.
Core is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Well, at least they got a ship. Yeah, they got as far as. Well, actually, no, they lost to London, but
they got the Western Hockey League Championship.
Yes, they got that.
Yeah.
They got that. But they did lose the Memorial Cup, so that's unfortunate. But what would you rather win? Would you rather win the Memorial Cup or the
Memorial Cup?
The Memorial Cup. Yeah. The Memorial
Not
Cup.
even close.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, like, you know, who was it? It was Cole Rashny and his teammate, Keaton Vierhoff, who's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft next year. They both committed to North Dakota. And, you know, Jackson Smith, I forgot where he committed, but he's going to be a top pick in the draft this year.
Yeah, he's a better defenseman.
He's going the college route too. So, yeah, it's getting spicy here.
So it begins, man. This is going to be fascinating to watch. This CHL transferred NCAA portal. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be fun to watch this next few years.
Yeah, there are some good Instagram accounts out there that are tracking the
movement.
Yeah.
The rumors, the rumor mill, all that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. No, I think that's good for the game.
Yeah. We might need to get an expert on here at some point.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm not an expert in this regard, but
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, we're putting in the effort. Yeah.
All right. Just at the hour mark, let's hit a quick break here, and on the other side, we will break down Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final and tee up Game 2, and also give you the Mount Rushmore of 1990s players. So stick around for more Justin Lynch and Tassos Kirkos and Chicago Hockey Radio on the other side, and we'll be back to wrap up your Friday. See you in a few. It's the Stanley Cup Final Hour of Chicago Hockey Radio. Justin Lynch, Tassos Kirkos bringing to you the last hour of CHR podcast coverage for this week before we return Monday for what will be game day of Game 3. But remember, once again, we are live streaming the game tonight. We will be bringing Lee Grossman into the mix, and we will be live streaming it all. So be sure to join us for that. We are going to talk about the game and the game on Wednesday and the game tonight, and what we expect and what we saw and what we liked and what we didn't, and where we think this crazy series could go. And possibly if this is a better series than last year. I think the answer is yes. But right now we're actually gonna send it over to the Mount Rushmore of 1990s players. And I didn't win this.
Neither did I. This was a disaster for me. I'm not sure.
Did you finish in second?
No, I finished last.
Oh, you're last. Oh,
the fact that I finished last in this one is an absolute crime with the all-star team I selected. I have no idea what people are voting based on, but yeah, this is unbelievable. But anyway.
I thought I got a good list of 90s players together.
Yeah, I thought I got an outstanding one.
Raven and Tim walking away with the win here.
They just pick names, dude. People just pick names.
So I'm going to update the standings while we do this
Ridiculous.
too, because all of you guys, I don't know if this has really been discussed. All of you CHR enjoyers, you hear how the picks are made on here, and then you go back to Instagram to change your vote as if we haven't already recorded the votes before I hit play here. Like, I already know who finished first, second, third, and fourth. We're not changing it now.
No
after the
redos.
fact. It is by the time the show starts, it is whatever the vote, it is whatever the percentages are when the show starts. Mm-hmm. That is what, not
from
now,
the time the post goes up to the to the time the show starts.
Yeah.
It's not like a 24-hour cycle.
No. Or not like after you hear the Mount Rushmore. Like,
no,
that's
you can't
the point.
be changing
You're
your
not
mind.
supposed to be. Yeah.
But yeah, I just think people aren't really voting for these things based off of like with that criteria. It's like I just think they're picking names, and that's the way it goes about. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a big. Well, we'll talk about it after. We'll talk about it after. Enjoy the Mount Rushmore of 1990s players, and then we'll be back to break down the Stanley Cup Final on the other side. Keep it here. Okay, hope you all are ready. It is now time for the Mount Rushmore of 90s players. The 1990s, that is. Not the 1890s.
Like it's 1999.
No, Hugh Kleberman or whoever was playing in the 1890s. I don't know.
The 1990s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think hockey was around the 1790s, right? No.
And it is the J-Man with the first overall pick. 1-1 goes to you, good sir.
Yeah, I mean, the leader of 90s from 1990 to 2000, nobody had more points than this guy. The legend himself, the mullet, two-time Cup champ, wingman of Mayor Lemieux. Give me Jaromir Jagr, the legend himself, second all-time in points. Only other guy with, close to 2,000, just below. Yeah, that's right. 90s legend.
Raven?
Give me Wayne Gretzky.
I think him as more of an 80s guy, but that's a fair one, too. Yeah. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with Wayne
But
Gretzky.
that's what's going to happen is they're going to win because they got Wayne Gretzky.
I know. Now that I think about it, whatever. Jagr was the best 90s player. Argue for Wall.
One of my favorite players of all time. I'm going to use this pick on. Played well into my youth, though, so I get to watch him quite a bit. Mike Modano.
The all-time U.S. points leader for not much
A
longer.
stretch at 3, definitely, but that one's
That's
more of a heartstrings pick than anything else.
Yeah, you can't argue with that one.
I was thinking about taking him at 2, honestly, but
Yeah.
had to pick Wayne.
Soon to be the second highest all-time American points leader. Yeah, hopefully after next year. Showtime will catch him. Matthews won't.
I got 2 here, right? I'm going to go Super Mario Lemieux and Adam Oates.
Known playmaker. Yeah.
I'm going to go JR, Jeremy Roenick.
Nice.
Yeah. Fair.
Give me Brett Hull.
All right. Whenever I think of Jaromir Jagr, I always think of Teemu Selanne as well. pair those European legends together. Yeah, give me Timu Solani, my second pick. 76 goal rookie season, 130 points. So no, definitely the best rookie season of all time, I would say. Yeah. And I probably should get a Hawks pick in here. He was so good, the Hawks felt like they could trade Dominik Hasek. So give me Ed Belfour, Eddie the Eagle.
Oh, it's my turn.
That's right.
Is it 2? Or is it just one?
No, wait. It is not your turn.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Raven's turn.
Jumping the gun a little premature there, buddy.
My third pick, I'm gonna take Chris Chelios.
Yeah. I was between him and Belfour.
I'm gonna go the white Nike skates, Sergei Fedorov. Screams 90s.
Yeah, Wings legend.
Now it's my turn.
Correct.
And do I have 2?
Mm-hmm.
Has Joe Sakic been taken?
No.
Whoa.
That's kind of crazy.
How is Sakic not been taken?
Guess I'll take Joe Sakic here.
What an awful pick. Second all time in 90s points.
Yeah. Has your boy Weiserman been taken?
He's also still available.
All right. I guess I'm going with the Weiser pick.
I was going to take Weiserman. Wow. Those are two rock
could.
solid picks.
And I've got Oates and Lemieux.
How the hell did you get those guys? Wow.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to take Peter Forsberg.
Somebody's still going to finish last in this one. I don't know how.
Yeah, you took. I know he's first in the 90s in points, but you took Yager and were like Lemieux's wingman. I'll
was
take Batman at 3.
I mean, I think, again, like Gretzky, I think Lemieux is more of an 80s. I don't know. Yeah. I guess 90. It's pretty, yeah. He missed a few games. Yeah, quite a bit.
Raven, last pick.
Mark Messier.
Yeah, I need to nail this last pick here. Man. Yeah, you know what? I'll take him. I mean, there are probably other guys you take, but another guy, like a what-if guy, injuries. Give me Eric Lindros. Yeah. Look at Lemieux's number. Holy, that's crazy.
Ton of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I would imagine there were more than 16 really good players.
According to this Bleacher Report list of the 51 best players in the 1990s, we missed the first 2 guys. So
What?
Alex McGillney and Mark Recchi, and the first 3 guys, Brian Leach.
Well, that's their opinion.
Never heard any of them.
Yeah, they're definitely better than Yager and Lemieux.
I will say I had 4, 5, 6, and 7 on their list. So, yeah.
Wait, where'd they rank
so,
Yager?
yeah, where was like Sakic and Lemieux
And Gretzky. And
Pavel Bure was another guy we missed. Nick
I
Lidstrom,
thought of him.
Claude Lemieux, Pat LaFontaine,
Patrick
Al
Waugh.
McInnes, Phil Housley, Chris Pronger. You picked Brett Hull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
a lot of those
Dominic
guys were like
Hasek,
the end of the
Yeah,
90s.
Dominic
Yeah.
Hasek.
I think of like guys whose prime were in the 90s.
Yeah.
Dominic Hasek.
Yeah.
Pierre
Ah.
Turgeon, Ron Francis, Doug Gilmore.
Martin Brodeur.
Keith Tkachuk.
I think Brodeur
Brodeur's
is like
early
early 2000s.
I scored
Yeah.
2000s. Yeah.
Mike Richter,
I think the
Brendan
same thing
Shanahan.
about Pronger, though.
Yeah. Just
Theo
because your career
Fleury.
started in the 90s or ended.
Yeah.
No. You should have played like throughout the 90s.
Luke Robitaille, Patrick Waugh, Cujo,
Yeah,
Curtis
Waugh and
Joseph,
Hasek were bad ones. But
Keith
I mean,
Tkachuk,
Yeah. Matt Sundin.
Matt Sundin.
Yeah.
Joe Sakic was 39th on this list.
Paul.
What?
all right,
Okay, that's just an invalid
John
list.
LeClaire,
So, like, why are we still listening to it?
Ray Bork,
Paul Carrera.
Korea,
Korea.
46 on this list. Ron Hextall, Joe Neuendijk, Rob Blake.
Tony Money.
Yeah, a lot of guys. Cool.
Nice.
All right, let's send it back to the show. That was a fun one. That was a fun one indeed. And can I actually point out, I listened to maybe 30 seconds of it because, I lived it. But The 30 seconds I did listen to was you being like, man, somebody's got to lose this. And that somebody was you.
This makes no sense whatsoever. You're telling me Jaromir Jagr, who had the most points in the 1990s, Teemu Selanne's 76-goal season, Ed Belfour won like 2 Vezina trophies, arguably the best goalie of the 90s up there, and Eric Lindros, the next one. How the hell did I finish last? You people just see, oh, this team has Wayne Gretzky, so I'm going to take him. Little Gretzky's prime was the 1980s. What the hell are we doing here? Jeez.
So now the updated scoreboard is myself in the lead at 60 points, a dead even 60 points. Justin is in second with 58 points. Raven and Tim only 1 point behind him.
Crime.
57
ChatGPT
points.
That's using the internet for every single team they pick is 1 point behind me.
Yep.
That's an absolute travesty.
And Lee-
Absolute travesty.
Lee currently sitting in last still at 54 points, but picking up a big 3 there. That's a big. That's
He's
a big
been
3.
in last this whole game, so at least
But that was a big win for Team AI.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Wow, I don't even know what else to say, man.
We have some. I think we have one more left in the bank from that recording that we did. So we're gonna need to maybe sit down next week and finish out the last batch here. I think.
Yeah.
I think we got one more.
So we're all within 6 now, right? Because top has 60, bottom has 54. Man, we're really close.
Yeah. Top has 60. Bottom has 54.
That's crazy.
So it
Wow.
is.
It's really gonna come down the wire.
Yes.
Damn.
Okay. Yes, we do have one more, and it is a fun one actually too. So that is a good last one. Expect that Sunday night. Okay.
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
The Edmonton Oilers take game 1 of the Stanley Cup final in overtime over the Florida Panthers. It is Leon Draisaitl on the power play off a sweet feed from below the goal line from Connor McDavid. Little exchange with Corey Perry to then set up Leon, his second of the game for somebody that did not score in the Stanley Cup final all of last year.
Really? I don't even know if I remembered that. That's shocking.
And he didn't score I think it was like the last 9 or 10 playoff games that the Oilers played last year. But he did not have a
2
goal
already in this series.
Yeah.
That's
So-
crazy. No, you knew that McTry connection was going to show up. It was a quiet game for McDavid, I'd say, until the end, right? He had the game tying assist, the sent OT, and then obviously he had the game winning assist to McTry there. I love to see that connection deliver. They were both great, and the German sniper, probably the MVP of the game for the Oilers, I would say. He was dominant, and they're going to need him to be dominant. But it was really before that. If you rewatch that goal, man, there was some interesting defense from Seth Jones there. I'm not really sure where he was there, what he was doing, but we've seen that one before, and then left him wide open in the slot. Wasn't covering the pass, and there you go. So, but yeah, that was a cinematic game, right? It was on the peeper there late in that overtime. Almost went to 2 overtimes, but you got to feel for Thomas Noshik, man. Obviously, that delay of game that set up that power play would have gone probably to a second overtime, you'd imagine, if not for that delay of game. It definitely felt like it was trending that way, and Oilers took advantage in the power play. So that's what they're going to need to continue doing. I think that's an area of advantage for them. So much needed game 1 win, much needed. I mean, obviously, it kind of feels like this is a series where every game is a must win in a way. No, not mathematically, but I don't think you could afford to have off games. So at home, you got home ice advantage. You didn't last year. You got to take that game 1. They did. So credit to them.
I thought the Oilers carried the play for
Yeah.
a lot of that game. Florida, obviously, the challenge on the goal that goes off of Sam Bennett's skate and into the net to make it 1-1, and then the challenge and
That was
Brad
an odd
Marchand gets the
challenge,
goal.
man. I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah, that sort of shifted it from being like, oh my gosh, this is all Edmonton right now, to whoa, suddenly Florida has the lead, and then
They got
Sam
back
Bennett.
in it, man. They started to take over there.
Yeah, Sam Bennett makes it 3-1 with his second of the game, and I do want to have a Sam Bennett conversation
2
in a
goals.
minute.
He was fantastic.
Yeah. So I think what is it? He has how many goals in the playoffs?
I think he has 12 or something.
He's 12 in the playoffs, and I think 11 of them are on the road.
Jeez, that's insane. 11 of the 12 goals are on the road?
I think.
That's a real stat?
Yeah.
That's unreal. ESPN on stat, but that's unreal.
So
He's
let's
a
bring
playoff
this
guy.
up now.
Yeah.
If the Panthers win the Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
it seems like he might be the Conn Smythe guy right now.
I'd say out Bob though.
I think it's more
If it's gonna be a
Barkov's
player-
to lose.
Yeah. You think Barkov? Yeah.
I think if the Panthers win, they'll have a very difficult time to not give it to Barkov.
Yeah, I mean, he's your 1C, he's your Jonathan Tays. So I'd say that's probably your top three, right? Barkey, Bob, and then Bennett's probably. He's got to be in the conversation, though. I mean, who has more big goals than him, especially in the playoffs?
I think to a lot of people, he's the front runner for the Conn Smythe.
Feels like they're Bickle on steroids. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely debate there. Well, if the Panthers, there's a debate. There's a serious, I guess the Oilers you could say between McDavid and Draisaitl, but they're going to get to McDavid if the Oilers win. There's no question about that. But with the Panthers, there's like 5 guys, even maybe more so. You literally look at the stats, man. It's like there's really no clear outliers, man. You make an argument for almost anybody in that squad. How about the Chalk playing through injury, man? What about the Reinhardt scoring big goals and all these guys? Like almost a half that team you could argue is in the running for the Conn Smythe at this rate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. I was trying to find I want to find the penalty summary in that game just to see where we were. It just felt like there were a lot of whistles and a lot of...
Yeah, there were a little more calls than you'd like to see, right? They were somewhat obvious. You couldn't really ignore them, but I would like to see the refs kind of keep their whistles away from more of this series, more of a pure 5-on-5 game. I felt like there were a lot of peepers in that game, especially for Stanley Cup final. So, but they were playing aggressive. It was clearly a very chippy game, and I would agree. I think it was a pretty evenly played game, but I do think the Oilers, for the most part, were the better team. They did heavily outshoot the Panthers. Bob really stood on his head there. I mean, he nearly, very nearly stole this one from the Cats, which if they could have found a way, man, that'd be huge for them. But if there's any team that could come from behind, it's them. So, but yeah, I would say the Oilers are definitely, they deserve that one. There were swings in the game, right? But for the most part, they're the better team over 60 plus. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida only got 2 power plays. Edmonton got 4. I think if you're going to continue to give Edmonton 4 power plays a night, then it's a recipe for disaster.
You're gonna have a hard time beating them. Yeah, this power play's been dangerous, right? I want to say they're clipping around 30% or something like that. I mean, they've been dominant for a reason. So, yeah, I think for the Panthers, it's like you got to strike a balance there because I think their game is physicality. It breeds physicality, but it's like you got to be disciplined as well. If you're giving them that many power plays, I know they have a great penalty kill. I know, but make try like they're gonna burn you. They're gonna kill you. Yeah.
What I will say about the Oilers, too, other guys who have really impressed me, Kasperi Kapanen was the 3rd star of the game, had 2 assists, had a beautiful chance and almost ended it in overtime. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. That would have been a beauty.
Yeah. But he's really just, carved out a role for himself when it feels like, he was supposed to be maybe a top 6 guy where now he's, being effective as a bottom 6 guy.
He's finally found a fit, right? Took a few teams, took a few years, and feels like now, like you said, he's kind of figured it out there.
Same thing with Vasily Podkolzin, another guy who got a point in that game.
The Oilers very quietly have like very solid depth now, which used to be a problem for them, and now I'd say it's one of their biggest strengths. It's like they don't just need big try man. Like they do have some of those complementary pieces that could step up too. So that's what makes them so dangerous right now. Yeah. Big part of why they've won 13 of the last 15 games. It's not just going to go through 2 players, man. They have a squad now. They have a team now. There really isn't much weaknesses of the squad. Yeah.
Yep. Jake Wallman was really good too, I thought. And yeah, man, that's a good. Who was I listening? I think it was Steve Dangle podcast. They were talking about Jake Wallman and just the fact that Steve Yzerman had to attach a pick to send Jake Wallman to the Sharks last summer, and then the Sharks are able to get a 1st round pick back. And another pick. I think it might have been a 1st and a 2nd or a 1st and a 3rd or something.
Career, like he's been good at that, man. He's been good at the asset management there. Should be taking notes.
And Wallman was like good for the Sharks too.
He was great. He had like 32 and 50. He was like their top producing. He was like their only, if you look at their defense, he was like the one guy who's kind of producing back there. And he was good for the Red Wings too. Like the year before, I thought he's one of their better D. So I don't understand why you just give a guy like up that for, if they have to kind of give up more to get rid of. I don't understand why that was bad asset management by Yzerman there. I'm sure a lot of Wings fans have been critiquing that, and he's had a fair share of moves to critique lately. So don't really get that as well. And he's been a great fit for Edmonton as well, especially in these playoffs. He's been good for him. Yeah, that decor, especially if that comes back, all of a sudden it's pretty good. I mean, I know it's been a question mark at the Oilers' their defense, but it's been pretty damn good lately. It must be said. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say too was a big part of this series for me was the loss of Zach Hyman and the absence of Zach Hyman.
Didn't really notice it game 1.
That too, and part of the reason why I will say and what will continue to be a factor for Edmonton going forward in these games is how effective Evander Kane can be. You know, like that is a guy that, you know, between Perry's smarts and Ekholm finding a little bit of offensive touch
that can make up for the loss,
and Evander Kane's meanness, I'll say, that
could fill the void. Exactly. Yeah, could use a little more, but if he could find more out of his game. I know he's obviously been out all year, but been on and off in these playoffs so far. But man, if he can, especially against a Panthers team that's so chippy, if they can, Evander Kane's exactly what they need in this series. You know what I mean? So kind of go band for band there, bar for bar, play their own game, right? Beat them their own game, use their own spells against them. So Evander Kane can rally up, get under your skin, get under your nerves, and maybe get you to make some bad plays there. Yeah. He's got to play. He's got to be smart, though. You know, Evander Kane. That's always the kind of balance of Evander Kane. Sometimes he makes some decisions out there that can cost you. Corey Perry too. He spent too much time in the box, but he's been effective though. He's been effective. Yeah.
So I'm just looking up because the conversation is being had a lot of, you know, this being very similar to Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky, you know, the second time around winning the Stanley Cup. And, you know, you look at, I want to look at right now what the Oilers or what the Penguins cup winning team from Sid's first cup looks like versus the second cup when they won years later, because I imagine it was a very, very different team. And here's the discussion, because I do want to get into Florida tonight and what tonight's game means. You know, I won't lie. My pick officially, because I wasn't on I forget when, I don't know. My pick officially for the series was Edmonton in 6, but that was only because I didn't really have the stones to say Edmonton in 5, because that was what I was thinking, but not because I don't think that this series is over necessarily. I do want to get into how Florida's going to be able to win this and, you know, how they're going to get back in this, because I do feel like that they are very much still in the series. But the discourse, I think, that we're not really, the conversation we're not really having is, what is the discourse around Connor McDavid going to be if he loses this series?
Well, I don't really know if we're right now. It's
you know what I mean though.
I see what you mean. Though. Everybody's been kind of assuming that. Yeah, he's going to get his revenge. But what if he does and they loses to the same squad 2 years in a row? I mean, it's so far they're off to the right start. But let's just say for hypothetical reasons that, you know, Florida gets a split today and tie up a series going back home. You know how good they've been there. So let's say they do lose a series. I mean, that's going to be what, year 10, no cups. I mean, look, it took Ovechkin 13 years or something like that. Some guys, it just takes longer. I think this Oilers team, I don't think this is a one and done, man. I think this team, assuming that, you know, McDavid's, he's a loyal guy. He's going to stay there. There's no questions about that. So Drysdale is locked up. As long as you have that core group intact and you have the complementary pieces, I think this team's going to be around for a while. I mean, unless Stan Bowman finds a way to screw that up, which, you know, never underestimate Stan Bowman's ability to fuck things up. But no, I think this Oilers team's got time. There's going to be a lot of, you know, media critique, but I don't know. I don't know how you could look at what McDavid's done, man, these past few years and put it on him.
It's not on him.
He almost willed that team to a cup last year. He had one of the most impressive playoff runs of all time. He's doing the exact same thing this year. I don't want to hear it from anybody, this narrative around McDavid. You know, look at him winning with the 4 nations in Canada and all that. He's a winner. Connor McDavid has the right mentality. He's doing everything right. Just because you don't have a cup after 10 years, okay, that's more of a team thing. It's not really a you thing. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to read through the Penguins rosters from 2008-9, the first Stanley Cup win, and 15-16, the second Stanley Cup win. Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Jordan Staal, Peter Sikora, Ruslan Fedotenko, Miroslav Shatan, Tyler Kennedy, Chris Letang, Matt Cook, Pascal Dupuis, Maxime Talbot, Alex Goligoski, Sergei Gonchar, Brooks Orpik, Chris Kunitz, Rob Scuderi, Bill Guerin, Hal Gill, Mark Eaton. You kind of get the point here. It was the younger core, I guess, but the older collection of players around them. You know what I mean? 15-16 when they won. Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Phil Kessel, Evgeny Malkin, Patrick Hornquist, Chris Kunitz, Matt Cullen, Nick Bonino, Carl Hagelin, Trevor Daley, Oli Mata, Dumoulin, Kunak Olfair, Bo Bennett, Ian Cole, Brian Rust, Connor Sheary. Didn't they bring in Gensel, I thought? Or maybe that was the second one.
I think he was there for both.
Yeah, he might have been there for both. He
definitely was there for the second. I'm pretty sure he was there for both, at least.
So anyways, point being, the second team feels a little bit younger with the rest of the pieces around it. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying here is I think the comparison is just. Like, I think it's a really frighteningly accurate comparison, actually, between those Penguins and these Oilers. Because these Oilers, you have the Perry and the Kane and all the older guys, right? Like, that are, that was the narrative about this Oilers team. They're older than last year's team. They're slower than last year's team, right?
They're more experienced, though. They know what they got to do this time.
Are they going to be able to get back to the Stanley Cup final again next season if they don't win it this year?
Oh, you're saying... Yeah, I mean,
you think so?
Well, I think they're going to have to make some changes to that bottom six, but those that as long as you have that core intact, like I said, they're continuing to get better. Like, I think you could find a way to fill out the rest of the roster and find a way. Like, as long as you have that core there, I think they're a contender. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I do not think that they will be able to make it back to the Stanley Cup final next season.
Really?
Nope. Just looking at the rosters, it's very difficult for me to believe that, you have to take care of the Connor McDavid extension first and foremost.
Yeah, they'll figure that out. They'll.
But
the number is important there, right? I guess that's your point, right? Is like if McDavid's, unless he takes a bit of a discount, he's going to be. He's
Bouchard needs a new contract too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Corey Perry's 40 years
There's
old.
going to be a lot of money tied up in dry McDavid, and Bouchard, assuming they get him that extension done, and that's going to be because McDavid's probably you'd think he'd be the highest paid player in the league, right? But by how much, right? Yep. That's a question mark, man. Like, is McDavid willing to take a bit of a discount to keep the band together? I think the players are going to have to replace, though, are replaceable. That's kind of my point. As long as they have that core group there, I think there's always going to be a window for Edmonton. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I just could see this window for this exact group shutting after this season and them needing to go in.
Corey Perry guys are replaceable. I don't think you're going to lose Corey Perry and all of a sudden, even like the Evander Kanes and guys like that. And
I'm just saying, even getting the effective play that you are out of guys like Evander Kane and Kapanen and Connor Brown and Janmark and Podkolzin and Arvidsson, like maybe those aren't to be, Brett Kulak and Darnell Nurse and.
Well, I will say this: I do think
Ekholm's a bit older.
I do think the way that offer siege situation was handled was a big swing and a miss. I think if you have a guy imagine what a guy like Dylan Holloway could do with this core, man.
Or Broberg.
Even Broberg on D like that. That could be something where they regret that. They could come to regret that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not now, but in the future, it's like those could have been two pretty big pieces of this group here. And it's like that's the thing. Like you look at who's in the wings. It is kind of a win now type of roster. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're not winning this year, then when's it going to be? Like you came super close as you could last year. This year, right now, I would say they're the favorites. They have the series lead, and so far they've looked better in this series. A long way to go, but if you find a way to not win again, it's like, well, yeah, I could see your point. I could see the point that you're making. I could see the point.
The point, yeah. I know you get it. It just might take a couple of years
longer than you think,
to get back to this place. If you don't win it this year, it might not be next year that you're back. It may be 5 or 6 years down the line, which I think probably terrifies Connor McDavid to
he's
his
in his
core.
Prime right now. I mean, he's 28, going to be 29 next. That's the thing. I feel like if the Oilers, in a way, you almost kind of have to take advantage of now.
You have to.
You don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know McDavid's McJesus, like they call him that for a reason, but you just never know, man. Like, look at a guy Crosby found a way to reinvent his game where he wasn't always putting up the 100+ point seasons, but he became a better player two-way. All that also had to do with the NHL. The scoring kind of went down, but is McDavid in his mid 30s still going to be putting up 100+? He very well could be. He's Connor McDavid, but just the way he plays, man. It's like you got to think there's going to be some wear and tear there. You know what I mean? He's been playing a lot of hockey too. There's always question marks around that. Draisaitl, same deal. He's a year older. So while McDavid's 28 and Draisaitl's 29, next year 29, 30, they're in the prime of their careers. You want to get a cup out of their prime. They're not always going to be that way. We don't know what they're going to look like when they're in their 30s. So I see the point you're making, whereas maybe when they get to that point, those two alone won't be able to will them this far. They're going to need a better group around them, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
and right now they don't really. That could be an issue. They're going to have to solve that somehow. Yeah.
So it is imperative. That's what I'm just. You
Yeah.
gotta win the Stanley Cup this year.
You got to win the cup. Everything from the script and everything. And I'm making jokes there, but everything sort of lines up to that. Where it does feel like this is their year. But what if it isn't? There's a long way to go. We're only at game 1 here, game 2 tonight. Things could very easily flip tonight, and then all of a sudden we have a tie series going back to Florida, and then all the talking points are reversed. So Florida's a team, man. It's like. Yeah, we still very much have a series, man. Like they were outplayed game 1 at Edmonton, and yet they almost came away with it. You know what I mean? So they could easily get a split tonight, and then all of a sudden we have a whole new series. So long way to go here, for sure.
And let's use that as a segue here to talk about the Panthers a little bit.
for
And
sure.
I don't think the Panthers' confidence is very much shaken after that game. I'm reading here. This is the 5th time since the start of the 2023 playoffs that the Panthers have lost game 1 of a series. They rebounded. They rebounded to win all but one of those series, including twice after losing the first 2 games, including that series against the Maple Leafs.
All but one. I assume that's the Vegas one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean that was in the Cup, so yeah, we'll see about that one. But yeah, yes, you're down 0-1, but look, you don't have the home ice this year. That's something that the Oilers have to take advantage of. We did say it on the Wednesday show. It felt like it was more important for the Oilers to take that game than Florida. So they've been down in many series, even in this playoffs. They've been down. They've been down as much as 0-2. So I'm not going to say that this game is I'm not going to say it's a must win, but it kind of does feel like it. Like if you go down 0-2 back to Sunrise, I don't know, man. I don't know. I do think for Florida, it's very imperative that you win tonight, tie up a series, get a split. Then all of a sudden you have a whole new series. So they could very easily do it. They were outplayed, not by much though, not by much on Wednesday. I mean, Bob did kind of keep them in a little bit of points, but there are also points in that game where they started to take over, right? So they could very easily get a bounce back. This team's done it before. Very rarely does Florida have 2 off games in a row, right? It's hard to get a winning streak going against Florida, but the Oilers have also won 13 of the last 15. You have to think there's eventually a breaking point. Maybe there is. I don't know. But there's any team that can get back in, it's Florida. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm looking here. Yeah, Florida had a really good second period. When they went up 3-1, they outshot Edmonton 17-8.
Yeah.
This is, a little bit of advanced analytics. Oilers had a 15-6 advantage in high danger shots on goal in game 1.
Really?
Per NHL Edge advanced stats. And they scored 3 of their 4 goals on high danger shots. So
you're gonna have to work on that. I think for Florida, you're gonna have to get Bob a little more of a break tonight. I don't think he can be facing 45, 46 shots again. So yeah, you gotta get more pressure going. You gotta have him more consistent. Because I thought for that second period, man, it's like, man, I really started to get away from them, from the Oilers, that is. So you can't get them back in it there. I thought Florida was really starting to put the power on. Then it kind of fizzled out. So got to find a way to be a bit more consistent tonight, right? Not let off. It kind of did feel like they sat back, and I don't think you can really afford to sit back against this Oilers team. No lead is safe against this Oilers squad.
No. And Florida's been a really good road team in the playoffs. They had won 5 straight on the road before game 1. They're 8-3 on the road these playoffs. And did you know that they've already broken the record? They broke it on Wednesday for the most road goals in a playoff run.
That's crazy.
I think it's like 51 or 52 or whatever it was. And so they could hit 60 in this series, in theory, and lose.
That's wild. Well, it's very rare that you see a team make it to the Cup final and never have home ice, and that's the Panthers this year.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a crazy regular season. Neither did the Oilers. This is the first time the Oilers have had home ice too. So what was it, like 98, 99 points or something? Like they have very similar seasons, right? Maybe that's the new formula now, right? Save a little something for the playoffs, right? In the regular season, you don't have to have these crazy numbers, right? There's a reason that President Trophy team hasn't won since 2013. But that's another argument. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Oilers, man, you could find a way tonight. You want to take a real advantage of home ice, go up 2-0, then you really put some pressure on this Cats team. But if there's any team that seems to love pressure, it's the Cats. Like nothing really ever seems to phase this squad. They're always in this series. They love, like Lee says, if he was here, he'd be saying it right now. They love being the underdogs, right? And even though they're defending champs, it does kind of feel like they're the underdogs right now. Now a lot of people are picking them compared to the Oilers, and it's like, oh, the Oilers took game 1. It's over, man. This is their year. We'll see about that, man. I do think the Cats, you think they have an answer. I do have the Oilers winning the series in 7, but notice I said 7 there. I do think the series is going to stretch. I hope it does. Because based off of that game 1, you couldn't ask for a better game 1. If this game 2 tonight is anything like that, we were going to be in for an absolute banger. And I hope it stretches. I hope the series doesn't end sooner than we think. Yeah, because I think these 2 teams are so evenly matched, man. I think it could be anyone. Yeah.
Do you think that maybe we could see some frustration start to boil over at some point here? Like maybe we kind of already
did a little. Yes, to answer your question.
Like
yes.
even more so. I'm saying though.
Yeah, no, I mean these 2 teams have played each other quite a bit in recent memory, and yeah, I think you're going to see a bit of a breaking point here eventually. I don't think neither of these teams really like each other that much. A lot of players, especially, seems to be a lot of like in series rivalries. If that makes sense, rivalries within the series. So hope to see even more chippiness, some more physical game tonight, maybe even some tilts. That'd be fun. Some brawls, yeah. I'd be down for that. I'd be very interested in that. Yeah.
I would love to see a fight.
Yes, it's funny. And even Gallant mentioned it when we had him on Monday. You really don't see a lot of fights in the playoffs. See a lot of checking, see a lot of physicality, but not a lot of old school fights. So that's what I want to see. I want to see some old school hockey. If there's any team that can provide old school hockey, it's the Panthers. So, and the Oilers have not backed down. They have not backed down. I think
there are guys on both teams that would do it.
They have a lot of dogs. Both teams have a lot of dogs. So I think
like Nurse or Kane or Frederick or something like
oh,
that.
Even Perry, yeah, for sure. They have a lot of guys.
I don't know how interested Corey Perry is in doing that at this age. You know?
Yeah, well, Unk still got it. Unk still got it. Yeah. I think he'd be down for a little bit of a I'd love to see it. I think that'd be awesome. Hopefully, for the live stream tonight, we see a little bit of that. I reckon it's going to be. I was actually surprised that we had the over in game one. I think tonight screams under. I think it's going to be more of a low scoring effort, right? The chances can be hard to come by, especially as the series develops. So,
you know what though? Keith Yandel went on Part of My Take Wednesday morning and said like it's the over, no doubt.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And then we were all like, oh, it's. I mean, I didn't say anything. I'm not an over or under guy.
Yeah.
I honestly probably would have leaned over. I know I'm not trying to be like hindsight Harold here, being like, oh, I would have taken,
Lee's not here, so we gotta get some betting talk in, right? Yeah.
Well, okay, so yeah, I definitely could have seen what happened Wednesday. I don't know, it was 6.5 over.
Who was the favorite tonight? Let's see.
Let's
see. Panthers -108, Oilers -112. So incredibly close tonight. Yeah, which that doesn't really shock me, to be honest. But well, it's funny. Everybody.
What is the over under set at? Does it say?
Yeah, I think Panthers -108, Oilers -112.
Or no, for goal, like over under.
Oh, sorry, for goals. I'm checking NHL apps. So I couldn't tell you. My bad.
Oh,
I guess that's what we're talking about. So I probably should have.
That's okay.
Yeah, my bad. That's a me thing. I'm not a betting lord like Mr. Grosman there. But yeah, it's funny. Everybody was saying it would be an under game Wednesday. It wound up being an over. So I wouldn't check. Everybody said it's going to be an over. Now it's going to be an under, right? That's kind of how it works, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not.
Well, it was 6.5 Wednesday. I wouldn't check me if it was 5.5. It might still be 6.5. The fact
I think
that it was,
tonight. I mean, we could do like
probably
score
6.5,
predictions.
yeah.
I mean, they'll probably up the odds, I'd imagine, because
based off that result from Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you would think so. Well, the Oilers have already kind of been the overdogs.
It's set at 6.5 right now.
It is 6.5. That doesn't shock me. Yeah.
I'd imagine it's an under tonight, but like I'd imagine it's like a 4-2 hockey game.
I'm feeling like a 3-2 type of game.
3-2 type of game.
Yeah. Who do I think is going to come out on top? This is a hard one, man. I have 7-game series, so you would think I would predict a Panthers win tonight. I don't know, though. I think this could be a 2010 type of situation where both teams take both at home, right? So I think Oilers take tonight. I think another close game, another narrow edge, 3-2. Do we go to overtime again? Do we have a Friday night overtime? I will say 3-2 regulation. I'll chicken out, but I'd like to see another overtime. Maybe McDavid this time. Maybe Drysdale to McDavid this time. Let's get I'd like to see that. That'd be cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna say 4-2 Edmonton tonight.
Oh, we both got the Oilers. I'm sure if Lee here he's picking the Panthers. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I'll pick it on the live stream. Yeah.
Again, nothing would surprise me if the Oilers or if the Panthers win tonight.
Yeah, I think I think either way, man. I think the Panthers have been down 0-2 before, right? But that was also the Leafs. The Oilers a bit of a different ball game here. But I could easily see the Panthers take both at Sunrise. In some ways, it's a 2-2 series. I still think it could be a long series if the Oilers win tonight. It depends. It depends on the fashion they win. I think every game in the series can be super close. I don't think we're going to see any blowouts this time around. These are two teams that have been blowing everybody out, but I think this will be a close series. So each game should be close. So that's why I reckon 1-2 goals. 3-2 Oil tonight. That's my prediction. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got anything else? Let's keep it short today. We got a lot of podcasting and live streaming ahead. But we do have time here. If you have any other cleanup, you got.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, their Cats have been elite in the road, right? Haven't lost much, so it'd be hard to see them lose consecutive on the road. But I don't want to get this overthinking game, Tassos. I think I always fall in this trap at the Oilers overthinking the matchup, but I think eventually you just kind of got to listen to your gut. So that's why I'm not betting against this team anymore, and that's why I have an Oilers near edge. But in terms of analysis, I don't know if we really have much else for this game. I think we've kind of broken down the series pretty decent. We had a lot of time to talk about it, so that's kind of all I got for this. Yeah.
All right. That's all I got too.
Yeah.
Okay. Good show. Good show.
Great show. Good stuff. Yeah,
we don't need anybody else. Raven and
no
Tim
guests.
and,
It's literally just me and you today. That's it. Nobody else here. The whole That's all you need. Yeah.
So yeah, no, great show. That was fun. Live stream tonight. Like I said, please join us.
Yes.
Tell a friend about this podcast. Holy cow, I don't know how else to say it, but please just tell your friends. Tell all your friends about this show. I'm looking at the average view duration of our show right now, and it's almost at 22 minutes. It's at 21:54, meaning that just about most of everybody that's stuck around here has stuck around for the whole time.
All right,
so,
thank you.
Meaning
there's hope for society. Some people actually have normal attention spans, so thank you. CHR listeners have those long attention spans, not that TikTok 13-second thing. So y'all are real ones. Thank you for sticking with us. We really appreciate that. By the way, we gained like 10 subs the last live stream for game 1. Can we do that again tonight? I think we're 815 now. We're really closing in. I think our good goal will be 900 subs by the finals. So I think we could achieve that. Help us get there. Yeah.
You all are great. We just hit 22 minutes on the average view duration. So thank you all for watching the show and spending your Friday afternoon with us. We hope that you spend your Friday night with us before we all get another weekend off from hockey. I hate the weekend off from hockey.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
I understand it, the cup, because it's very obviously the logistics, the travel logistics in this year is a kind of a nightmare of Edmonton, Florida, just like last year. But these 2-day breaks, man, like let's give me the second weekend in a row of no hockey. Are you kidding me, dude? Mm-hmm. That does kind of suck. Game 3 will be Monday. We'll preview that Monday, obviously, on that show, and then obviously we'll talk about game 2 tonight. But yeah, these long stretches, especially in the cup final, we get a lot of those 2-day breaks, which kind of sucks. But NHL obviously wants to draw this out as much as they can, have it end as close to the draft of free agency as possible. So, and hopefully for their sake, I'd like to see a 7-game series here, like I just said, good for business. And I want to see as much of these two teams as possible because I really think it has all the makings of a classic, just like last year. And the sequel doesn't always top the original. I think this has all the potential to do that. Yeah.
All right. We are going to see everybody tonight for the live stream.
Yes.
And then we'll be back Monday for the show. See everybody tonight. Enjoy your weekend. Peace out.
We will be there.